Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another episode of Volunteer Patrol. So this particular episode, I'm not going to be driving around. Unfortunately, this video is kind of sombering. One that doesn't end very well, unfortunately. So I'm in a sector that I normally don't work. It's the touristy sector of Orange County. It's called Sector 5. And we're allowed to cross over and stuff, um, and work that sector and stuff if they needed some patrol. It's not one that's normally staffed a lot. So I'm happy to be stopped at a local gas station convenience store. Had I believe got a Gatorade or water or something like that and a snack just to kind of hold us over. And I heard a call go out for it's called Man Down. That's usually a medical episode where a person collapses all of a sudden illness type injuries and stuff. It could be a heart related injury or cardiac heart related or respiratory arrest type issue, um, seizures, what else? Drug overdoses, stuff like that. It's something where a person has suddenly collapsed or suddenly became ill. So the man down call goes out. And again, I'm not really familiar with the sector. It continues to build all the time. And it comes out. It sounded like it was at one of the resorts. They called it out. The person had collapsed at a pool deck at one of their local resorts. So I don't normally respond to those. It just happened to go out, and I could see some of the deputies responding that were close to where I was. So they're responding, and first arriving deputies are on scene, fire rescue's on scene, and I do hear them call out that the CPR is in progress. And then next thing you know, Sector 5 isn't real big either. There isn't a whole lot of deputies assigned to that sector, um, just because it's not a real high crime. However, it's more of a presence. Um, but call comes out, they need additional resources to respond. That it's a pretty dire situation, and they needed basically people to create a blockade because it was CPR in progress. Um, so at this point, I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna respond. Again, we're not allowed to go emergency mode, but I made it as quickly as I could to the resort, punched in the address, and made my way over there. It was a little tricky again. I wasn't familiar with this resort, and I wasn't really sure how to get in there. So I obviously found the ambulance. I said, came close, and multiple other deputies were actually showing up as well. So I walked over, and pretty much I'll paint the picture for you. A very heavy-set male was in some sort of cardiac arrest. Fire rescue was pretty much on top of this gentleman doing chest compressions. Um, I believe fire rescue was several other firefighters were attempting to set up a auto chest compression system that was kind of new to them. I do remember. I think they were having a hard time getting it set up, or this. I don't know the full story behind that. I know he was this very large gentleman, and they were obviously CPR in progress. As many of you guys know, that CPR trained compressions is usually 30 compressions, 2 breaths, no matter what, if it's one rescuer or 2 rescuers. Obviously, they had another firefighter at the head providing, was at BVM, um, and was, providing air that way. I don't know if they had him incubated at that point, had oxygen set up on stuff on it. I do remember it had a BVM, a firefighter at the head using the BVM. This resort was jam packed full of kids of all different ages, concerned parents, onlookers, just a very sad situation. The gentleman, I believe, was going in and out. They would get a pulse. They weren't getting pulse. They would get a pulse. I believe they brought him back and forth several times. But unfortunately, he did perish before making it to the hospital. Very sad. That was one of the probably roughest things I've ever seen. I've never seen CPR actually in progress on somebody. I've been taught it numerous times over the years, but to actually see it in action and somebody of that large capacity, I mean, it wasn't the traditional CPR that you see. It sure as heck wasn't the CPR that you would see like on the show Baywatch. It was very intense, and the guy wasn't able to use his hands. He pretty much had his entire forearm was on this guy's chest, doing chest compressions, just the amount of mass that he had to work with. So, very sad. Kind of the point I want you guys to take is if you have kids, especially a resort like that, stuff does happen. Medical episodes do happen. Try to take your kids away from that. That's not really something that they should see. I really wish I don't have to see that type of stuff, but it happens. But in a situation like that, take your kids away. We had to waste a large amount of resources to create a barrier for this gentleman, give him the respect that he needed for the firefighters to work on him and the grieving family. Turns out he had some sort of disorder that was flared up while he happened to be in Florida, and it ultimately cost him his life. So, but there was basically nothing that could have been done. But just keep your kids safe. Take them back to the room, take them into the inside the resort, and that could be anywhere. It could be a drowning victim. Even you as an adult should be the bigger person, and turn away or keep people, give people the respect that they need, families especially, and stuff like that. So I know it wasn't a very happy story. It wasn't a funny story. I know some of my stories, or most of them, are funny or crazy story, and this is probably up there in the craziness as well. But unfortunately, I kind of wanted to make this a black background. That it is kind of the black story that I have with that particular incident. So, hope you guys like these stories. Subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.